From the outside, our marriage looked like something people quietly envied. Laura and I were the couple friends pointed to when they talked about stability. 7 years married, no public fights, no scandals. Weekend dinners, family gatherings, smiling photos uploaded at just the right angles. If love had a resume, ours looked flawless. Every morning followed the same rhythm. I woke up before her, made coffee, watched the city stretch awake through the window. Laura would eventually emerge from the bedroom, hair messy, phone already in her hand. She'd smile, kiss my cheek, and say, "Morning," like it was a promise the day would be normal. I believed normal meant safe. But safety can be an illusion you cling to when you want to ask hard questions. Somewhere along the way, the silence between us grew longer. Conversations became practical instead of personal. We talked about bills, schedules, work stress, but not dreams, not fears, not us. I told myself this was adulthood, that passion fades and companionship replaces it, that love doesn't always feel loud. Still, there were moments that unsettled me. Laura started coming home later. Her phone never left her side. She laughed at messages she didn't share. When I asked how her day was, her answers felt rehearsed, like lines memorized rather than memories lived. Once late at night, I reached for her hand in bed and felt her pull away slightly. Not enough to start a fight, but enough to notice. "You okay?" I asked. "Just tired," she said. I accepted that answer every time. Trust wasn't something I rationed. If I loved you, you had all of it, and I loved her completely. The night everything changed, started like any other. Dinner was quiet. The TV murmured in the background. Laura sat beside me on the couch, knees pulled up, fingers twisting together. I noticed her leg bouncing slightly, a nervous habit she'd had since college. "Daniel," she said suddenly. I muted the TV. "There's something I need to tell you." Her voice wasn't shaking, but her hands were. I felt it then. Not panic, not anger. Just a deep, cold certainty in my chest. The kind that arrives before disaster. When your mind connects dots, your heart doesn't want to see. I nodded. "Okay." She inhaled slowly, as if bracing herself. And in that breath, 7 years stood on the edge of something fragile. What she said next would change everything. "I spent the night with someone else." She said it plainly. No build-up, no tears. Just words, dropped into the room like glass. For a moment, my mind refused to process them. I stared at her, waiting for clarification, for a punchline, for anything that would make the sentence less real. "With someone else?" I asked quietly. She nodded. Her eyes stayed fixed on the floor. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. I waited for my heart to race, for anger to explode, but nothing came. Just a deep, hollow stillness. Laura glanced at me, confused. "Aren't you going to say something?" I wanted to ask 100 questions. Who was he? How long did you plan this? Did you lie to my face every day? Instead, I said, "Go on." She took that as permission. She talked about feeling lonely, about how I'd become distant, about how he listened, how he made her feel desired again. She said it didn't mean anything, that it was a mistake, that she never meant to hurt me. Her words blurred together, excuses layered over betrayal, wrapped in guilt. I listened without interrupting. When she finally stopped talking, the silence stretched painfully long. I asked only one question. "Did you think about me when you were with him?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes filled with tears. That was my answer. I stood up slowly. My legs felt steady, even though my chest felt like it had collapsed inward. "I'm going to pack a bag," I said. Her head snapped up. "Wait, what?" I walked toward the bedroom. Behind me, her voice cracked. "Daniel, don't do this. Please. We can fix this." But something inside me had already broken cleanly, like a bone snapping instead of cracking. I packed deliberately. Shirts, jeans, essentials. Each item felt symbolic, like I was dismantling a life, piece by piece. She stood in the doorway, crying now, real panic flooding her face. "You're not even yelling," she sobbed. "Why aren't you yelling?" I looked at her. "Because yelling won't change what you did," and that terrified her more than anger ever could. Laura tried everything once. She realized I wasn't reacting the way she expected. She begged, she justified. She blamed herself and then subtly blamed me. She promised therapy, honesty, transparency, things people promise when they realize forgiveness isn't automatic. "Everyone makes mistakes," she said through tears. "Doesn't our marriage deserve a second chance?" I paused my packing and faced her. "This wasn't a mistake," I said calmly. "It was a choice." She shook her head desperately. "You're being unfair." "No," I replied. "I'm being honest." She reached for my arm. I stepped back. That moment broke her. I said, "I'm sorry." She cried. "What else do you want from me?" I looked at her, the woman I loved, now a stranger standing in my bedroom. "I wanted loyalty," I said quietly, "and I can't pretend that's still here." She slid down to the floor, sobbing. Seeing her like that hurt more than I expected. Pain clawed at my chest, but I didn't let it change my decision. Loving someone doesn't mean destroying yourself to keep them. I zipped the bag. "That's it," she whispered. 7 years. Just over. Yes, the word landed heavily between us. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. Neither did I. We sat at the kitchen table like strangers waiting for a verdict. Laura's eyes were swollen, mine burned but stayed dry. I'll do anything, she said. I'll quit my job, I'll block him. I'll prove it to you. I believed she meant it. But belief isn't enough once trust is gone. I'm not leaving because I stopped loving you, I said. Hope flickered in her eyes. I'm leaving because I refuse to stay where respect died. Her face crumpled. I explained calmly, divorce. No drama, no revenge. Just an ending. You don't hate me? She asked softly. No, I answered, but I can't be your husband anymore. When I stood to leave, she grabbed my hand. Please don't walk away, she begged. I gently pulled free. I already have. I walked out without looking back. The aftermath was quieter than I expected. My new apartment felt empty, but not hostile, just neutral. Laura called, texted, left voicemails full of regret. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty but survival. Nights were the hardest. Memories crept in, uninvited. Her laugh, our routines, the future we planned. But slowly, peace replaced pain. I slept better. I breathed easier. I realized I hadn't been alone in months until now. And then, months later, fate tested me. We ran into each other by accident, a coffee shop, a quiet afternoon. She looked different, worn, smaller. We talked cautiously. I lost everything, she admitted. He meant nothing. I know, I said, but knowing didn't change the ending. I miss you, she whispered. I know, I replied, but missing isn't enough. When we parted, I felt no urge to look back. Closure doesn't always come with reconciliation. Walking away taught me something powerful. Silence isn't weakness, it's strength. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need answers. I needed peace. Her punishment wasn't losing me. It was knowing she could never undo what she chose, and I carried that lesson forward lighter than I'd ever felt. If you're listening to this story right now, and you're facing betrayal, remember this: you don't owe forgiveness at the cost of your dignity. Sometimes the strongest response isn't anger, it's leaving, it's choosing yourself.